Hello, I'm Jim Sullivan, and welcome to Boston Rock Talk, a music and interview show that we do here in the Boston area Today, our guests are Ride, or two members of Ride, Andy Bell and Mark Gardner. Welcome, guys.
Hi, Jim.
Before we start the formal interview, I'd like to pass on a howdy from the Verve guitarist Nick McCabe, who was talking to him last night. And he said, please say hi, and they probably remember me from puking outside the van on the tour when they opened for you.
We actually had them on tour very early on in their career when they were still called The Verve.
Yeah.
We were promoting our second album, and a friend of mine had a demo tape by The Verve and gave it to us. Steve Sutherland, right? I think you might have given it, actually.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
And we just said, yeah, we need them on tour with us.
They were great.
And,
He'd also like to say he's been sober since 2009, but he does remember that incident.
Nick. It's good to hear from you.
Now, you guys, we haven't heard from, I guess, for quite a while. You existed primarily, I think, from 1988 to 1996, if I'm not mistaken. So the obvious place to start is, why now? Why are you back together?
Well, I mean, the band did finish in a kind of acrimonious way, but that was all patched up pretty soon after. So, I mean, over the intervening years, we've met up a few times and even played together very briefly once or twice. Like, I've guested with Mark on acoustic gigs, and I think Loz has played with you as well occasionally. And actually, you and Loz had a band together.
Yeah, we did. And Loz and I still live in Oxford, so I mean, basically, we've always kind of been keeping in contact and seeing what each other has been up to over the years.
And I guess to answer the question, why now? It's just good timing, really. I mean, we've all kept on, apart from Steve, who went to get a real job, we've all kept on playing in bands and doing, like, you know, music work and production and all that kind of thing. So just over the last few years, I guess we've been getting a bit more pressure from a lot of sides to, you know, you guys should really reform and do some shows. And this was the time when I think the timing was all right, finally.
Yeah.
Did you have any fear that the audience that you once have might have forgotten about you?
I think you kind of, unless you live in a total hole in the ground, you're very aware these days through social media that it's wanted and that people are still really, you know, I mean, I had to answer that question for 10 years all the time, and I could never answer it. You know, will Ride ever play again? So I think you know, you're very aware that people are still there and they kind of wanted this, and it certainly played a part in making it happen as well.
I've got to say, I thought they were mainly being polite until we got on stage for the first time, and I could see the emotion that people were feeling that were, you know, watching the gig, you know. So, I've had a bit of a wake-up call, actually. It's been amazing to see the reaction we've got at the shows.
Yeah.
I was going through YouTube the other night, listening and looking at your songs and some of the comments under them, and some of the comments were of the effect, obviously, from people in their 20s, were sort of like, my God, I can't believe this band. These guys are so great. Yeah. Why had I never heard of them? And well, of course, they weren't maybe born when you first existed, but I mean, there's such an afterlife, obviously, through Spotify, through YouTube, whatever. I'm sure that helps that sort of legend, if you will.
It must have helped, like, being able to get access to this music on the computer with such ease. I mean, I spent most of the 90s and the noughties, whatever you call them, touring around the world, buying DVDs and VHS cassettes of music, you know, and then that whole collection is just worthless now because YouTube came out.
I have the same collection you have, yes.
And now you can just get anything anywhere, you know, you can find anything, and the same with records and CDs and all these things that were almost like a badge of honor. Well, I've got this. Well, anyone can have that now.
Yeah, now, right, does it matter? There was, I was reading the press notes about you getting back together, and I mean, one of the things you're doing is promoting the 25th year of your first album, Nowhere, right? And I think in the notes talking about it, one of you was saying, I think you're quoting David Crosby and saying your first band is your first love. And can you talk about that a little bit? I mean, how did that come into play?
Yeah, I mean, that was a quote that I read in the liner notes for the Birds box set that came out while we were all playing together. So we all had this box set. And I remember reading it and thinking at the time, that's a kind of cool quote. And then now it's proved to be kind of true, I guess, in a way. You know, once you're in a few bands, you do think back to your first one, and it has a special magic to it.
Yeah, because, and of course at the time when you're in your first one, that's all you know about, so you have no kind of objectivity. It's just like, that's all you know. And it's not until then, years later, when you've been playing in lots of different things that, well, for me anyway, I always just felt that something was missing. It's great collaborations are great. I've really been a great time through that period, but it's until you get back in the room with those people and it's like, oh yeah, that's what it is.
There was one other quote you guys used, which I thought was terrific.
Before we move on, I was just thinking about David Crosby, because that's the quote from him means a lot, because he was and he was a bit of a brat in the Byrds, a bit of a troublemaker, and kind of, I think the Byrds dynamic was, in a way, they were all young, immature kids, a bit like Ride in a way, and I don't know. I definitely felt there was a thing there which was
definitely
a relation to us, because our band just sort of exploded after just a few years.
You're right.
And I always felt the Byrds story was a bit like that. It was a bit random. There was no one really like controlling the ship with the Byrds. They were like, members were going here, members were going there. And Crosby wanted to be in Jefferson Airplane 1 minute and solo the next, and then he wanted, it was all a free for all.
Yeah. Actually, what it reminded me of was when I first heard of the band, I went, the name Ride, I went, well, that's pretty mundane, pretty generic. And then I did my British slang checking dictionary and went, oh, is the meaning would be perhaps...
There's a few.
There's a few.
Where are we going here?
You can say, no, I mean, it's slang for shagging, right?
Yeah, especially in Ireland. That's where it's really like, if you're a Ride, then that means you're
so there's
someone desirable.
Exactly. So anyway, it was a good name that I didn't catch.
It's
right
more
away.
interesting than thinking about a Ride symbol or something.
The quote I wanted to also use was the one it's a terrific quote, French economist Jacques Attali, I believe, is that right? And I'll just read it, and again, just get your response if I can. It said, in noise can be read the codes of life, the relations among men, clamor, melody, dissonance, harmony. When it is fashioned by man with specific tools, when it invades man's time, when it becomes sound, noise is the source of the purpose and power of the dream music. What a great line to explain what you and I think what a lot of bands do. And it kind of leads into that the clamor that you're quite well known for. You guys both play guitar. Tell me about that, if you will, the beautiful noise that you're able to create that way. What it means.
Noise as a concept is something that not that many bands really embrace as a tool. Like, I mean, we have said many times that we were inspired by the Valentines, and My Bloody Valentine in the late 80s put out an EP called You Made Me Realise, which had this noise section, and we kind of took that idea and ran with it, and we put it into Drive Blind, and made it into our own thing. And the fact of going into, and Sonic Youth also really explored that with a lot of their tunes, but it's just that whole idea that you put a time into a song or a gig where you just go somewhere else with it, and anything can almost happen. And once you start going into abstract sound in a concert, you find that it's just a different experience from your normal 3-chord first chorus song. And that element in Ride has always been quite important, especially in the early years, and especially now during the reunion, we've made it a central point of the gig. And it's like a different moment than hearing your favourite song. It's just a moment of release, I guess, for the band and the audience.
Yeah, I think also it was a good tool for us early on, because we wanted to make an impact when you're travelling around, and it probably covered up some stuff as well, which was, but it worked. It worked for us well on the early days, and obviously, we mentioned people like the Byrds and stuff. I mean, I think when you've got something about harmony put next to noise, it makes those harmonies sort of sound even more beautiful in a way. When you've kind of got that juxtaposition of different things or whatever, I think it's, if it's all harmony or all noise, it gets a bit one-dimensional for me. So I think it's good just to try and mix those things up a bit.
At some level, you're a pop band too, I think.
Totally,
and I remember...
we always wanted to be a pop band, for sure.
I remember an older interviewer saw somewhere where the Darling Buds was one of your influences as well, a band I loved, who were
Yeah.
very much a pop band that added little bits of noise to it. And
I mean,
Yeah.
late 80s indie was a really, that was the sort of the fertile ground that we came out from.
Right,
And
sure.
all that stuff is very poppy. A lot of it's quite twee in a way.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a side of that in the early Ride stuff, but matched with that is this whole other super powerful Dinosaur Jr., Sonic Youth,
Right.
Screaming Trees,
Right.
and then going back to the Rain Parade and Long Riders and a real strain of American music,
oh, wow,
which
you're
was,
good. Okay, yeah.
like really a lot more muscle and sort of like bite in it,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
was put together with that English, more softer thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can do this, but do you guys have a way of describing how your guitar sound works together, how you play off each other?
It's, we've been playing guitar together when you think about it since we were at school. I mean, I kind of learnt guitar with Andy, I mean, I was obviously earmarked for being the guy that was going to do a bit more of the singing maybe, and I think it was obvious Andy was always going to be lead guitar man and sing as well. So, I think when you've done something like that together for so long, it's just, it's quite instinctive in a way, I guess. It's hard to describe, it's just something that just feels pretty
Are there any guitar
naturally.
duos that you said, yeah, we'd like to kind of be like these guys?
Not so
Really?
much, really. I mean, as when we played together, it was really about the song.
Yeah.
But you definitely, I'm sure, we have an appreciation for the way that Keith and Ronnie played together. And it's, in some ways, it's quite similar because you can't. I mean, I'd say probably I'm more of a lead guitarist and you're more rhythm. But then there's also a lot of songs where I'm playing rhythm and you're playing the lead part, like Drive Blind.
Yeah, and we're swapping things from how we did them in the record to live, so that it kind of works live as well. We sort of swap parts around a little bit as well. We have been doing that.
I mean, Ride wasn't as much about guitar solos, so it wasn't really about a lead guitarist. It was a lot of the time about two rhythm guitars.
I was going to say, I mean, your songs tend to be, I think, in the 3 to 5 or 6 minute range, which is not extreme. Do you stretch out in concert, or are you keeping those pretty tight still?
It's different for every song.
Yeah.
And also on the guitar thing, I think Steve Queralt, the bass player, has a lot of space sonically as well. I mean, if you're talking about the roles, it's not so much of a lead rhythm thing, or with bass. It's more like the three of us all choose a frequency, like in a tune, like a low, middle, and high is more that's more how we approach it.
Yeah.
And it could be three rhythm parts.
But and it's like we said, it's like what really serves the song here. How do we do this? And there's never really felt to me any kind of rules on anything. It's just kind of other than let's try and hopefully make something that we feel is interesting.
When you're talking about that, I was thinking of there's sort of a truism I think about songwriting, and that is that it has to work on acoustic guitar first before it goes anywhere else. You would agree to that?
Yeah.
And you guys are going to be playing acoustic with us here today too later, which I think might be a treat for people who are used to you not in that setting. When you do things like you're going to do here acoustically, how is that different for you? I mean, it must be a much different dynamic than the full bore experience.
It's how the songs generally start.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
It's how all the songs generally start. So, and with Chrome Waves that we're going to play, I mean, that's something that I play the same part on in a concert. I play on acoustic. So it's the same part for me.
It's nice to strip things back in a way. I've enjoyed that, and I've obviously played quite a lot of acoustic through the years as well. So it's something that's just feels very natural again now. But I mean, I have done that a lot, I must say. I just really enjoy plugging in now. after playing a lot of acoustic through
the acoustic thing too, you know, as a listener, you do pay more attention to the words. They're more front and center, which must be rewarding, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, and it's exposed. It's kind of naked for me. It's the hardest shows. The hardest thing I've ever done, really, is that the stripped down acoustic thing, because there's no hiding place at all. Like noise can be quite a good mask, but that's your bare bones, so there is no.
A one-man show is the scariest show to do, no question.
Unless you're Billy Bragg, where you can just talk half the show and spread the gospel.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see that. In terms of songwriting, if my history reading is correct, one of the reasons you guys split way back in the day was that you weren't getting on as songwriters, and you split off, and you each did your own songs, and then put them together for the band?
I don't know.
Don't know
No,
really.
true,
I mean,
no.
We just crashed the car in whatever way.
In all ways.
You can look at lots of reasons and things that would change.
Yeah.
We've just always, we're very passionate about what we do, and we just try and, through that time, just to keep creating great songs, you know, that would match what we did. You know, the early part was a rapid sort of rise, I guess. So you just try and keep it going in whichever way you can. And you know, we never have one way of doing things. I think, you know, there's never kind of like, oh, this is how we should write and do things. It was always kind of random, and it just naturally came after a period where for once we'd had a break. So I think some of the writing had started more individually, you know, with me at home or Andy at home or whatever. But you know, for me, it's however it works, it works, and there isn't a rule to it, and we just bring in what we bring into the room, and then that's really when it all kind of comes together, I think.
Begs the question, are you working on material now? Do you have a new record in the cards?
If we do, it would be definitely going back to the first model of like jamming around and trying to collaborate on sounds and jams and fashion them towards songs, rather than the later thing where you're bringing in an individually fully formed song.
Yeah, which is the nice thing with the benefit of hindsight. You can actually now, which contradicts what I was saying earlier a bit, but you can go, hey, that way that we worked during that album would be great to sort of recreate that way of working again.
I suppose, I mean, you do always come in with words and music that you might have done on your own, but it's all about being open to how the rest of the guys take that and play with it and letting it go where it wants to go.
Yeah.
So it's just got to happen naturally. To answer the question, we haven't done anything yet, and we may or may not do it, but we've got to finish this tour first.
I was going to say, does writing come to you while you're on tour, or are you so focused on what you're doing on tour that's out of the mix?
Touring's been pretty full on again.
Yeah,
just
I
to
mean,
be back on a bus, you think, oh, we're going to have this time to maybe do things like that, but actually, in reality, you don't. I mean, we're not so fresh straight out. I still feel like I'm in Cleveland, to be honest with you. It's like, we were there last night, and in a matter of hours, we wake up in Boston, so it's not...
Well, it's a perfect Spinal Tap moment tonight when you're in Boston to say hello Cleveland, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't see how bands can
Cancel
resist.
the show because it's not a big college town. Yeah,
That's
exactly
right.
that.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Are you getting a good response here? I mean, this is the last date of your tour.
It's been
what we're
amazing,
taking
yeah.
there.
To be honest with you, I mean, this whole year, I've sort of someone that anytime you have expectations, it never seems to match up. So I totally have very little expectations on anything anymore in life. But I've been totally overwhelmed and pleasantly surprised by this whole year. It's been incredible.
What's the major difference between touring when you're, say, in your mid-20s and when you're in your mid-40s? What are the changes that you've noticed?
We're men now rather than boys.
I think you just,
Not so bratty.
You grow up and you kind of maybe have a bit more of an understanding about what the gig is supposed to be. What's important and what people want to hear, how to deliver that, how to keep it fresh for yourself as well. I mean, seeing a ride gig now, the set list is definitely going to be a lot better than it was when we were going first time round. I mean, we were, especially towards the end, we'd only play what we felt like that night, and we left off a lot of big ones because we were sort of like petulant about it. It was like, no, we're not going to play Vapour Trail anymore.
I was going to say, did you ever leave Vapour Trail?
Yeah, Vapour Trail was left out from about 1992 onwards. It was disappeared from the set list and never came back. Now we just take a more measured view and just pick a set list for the night that has enough of the real classics, but also usually we try and put in a couple of things people might not expect. Like last night we played a song we've never played before called Tongue Tied, which was recorded for Going Blank Again, but only really came out on a
what was it? A box set or something, wasn't it?
Like a box set of unreleased, like an unreleased CD on a box set thing that came out. So that would have been for the hardcore fans only. I'm sure most of the audience didn't know what it was.
No. What reminds me, there was a line in Lou Reed's song, the Velvet song "Sweet Jane," where it's talking about an actor, and the line is about anyone who ever played a part, they wouldn't turn around to hate it, would they? And I sometimes wonder that about musicians who've written a song, maybe a great song, but at some point it's lost its meaning, it becomes obligatory. Was that what Vapour Trails had become for you, do you think? Vapour Trail.
Yeah, I think at the time maybe we had just got bored of playing it, or we just, at the time, although it was a good song and it was kind of a popular song, it wasn't a single, except later on in America it was a radio song, but in the UK it wasn't a single. And that song has only really grown more in popularity since the band finished, I think.
Yeah,
really. I mean,
yeah, it has.
Really?
And yeah, the test of time, it sort of certainly shows what, you know, which tracks are still sort of bubbling away. I mean, in a way, like, the songs have always had that, always kept going, always had that life force, so it's just quite nice to sort of rejoin that energy of the songs. They've had their own force, they've been growing, and people have been discovering them for years, really. And like, that's what I mean, now you can actually work out which ones they are, you know, it's quite obvious. It's sort of, people tell you all the time, so it's good, but it's nice to reconnect with those songs because they're pretty raw and pretty laid bare, you know, when they were written. So
lyric-wise, there's a lot of rawness in there that is kind of good. It's kind of educational as a 45-year-old man to go back and read lyrics you wrote at 18 and go out and sing them every night, and, you know, a little part of you remembers that person.
yeah,
you know.
definitely.
Do you ever go, oh God, how could I have been so fill in the blank?
Look, it's like teenage angst. That's what it is.
Yeah, right.
You have to own it. You know, you have to. But equally, as much as it is teenage angst, it connects with people. You know, those are the ones that have the most cringe factor. You know, they're the ones that everyone seems to appreciate the most in a way. So you have to, like, make peace with that.
Well, we're going to wrap up the interview part of this now. You guys are going to play some music. Any of the songs you're planning on playing for us have any cringe factor in it, or are we happy with all these?
I think we're good to go.
I use that in an affectionate way.
I know. You want to just tell us what you're going to be playing here?
So we're going to start with a song called Chrome Waves, which was from Going Blank Again album. Then
In a Different Place, which is from Nowhere.
And then onto a song that we haven't been playing so much live, but I think it's great on acoustic. It's a song called Time to Time, which was from the Carnival of Light album.
And then we're finishing with Vapour Trail from Nowhere.
Very good. All right. Gentlemen, thank you very much. And say thank you for watching Boston Rock Talk. I'm Jim Sullivan. We've been here with Mark and Andy from Ride. And play us out, guys. Nice having you on the show. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Years from now, see the crow, can't hear it move. I'll meet you on the way down, wrapped around somebody's hand. We've all moved on from here, the colors running dry, a drowsy line of wasted time bathes my open mind. The strange machinery is keeping you from seeing me. I'll meet you on the way down. Can't stay on bed. unbearable to go. We've all moved on from here, the colours running dry, a drowsy line of wasted time bathes my open mind.
Okay, this song is called In a Different Place.
Blowing bubbles lying down, waiting for the rain to fall. Laughing at the people, wonder why they always rush, never slow down. And we're smiling when we're sleeping, and we're smiling when we're waking. Even if the rain falls down and all the sky turns cold, I will feel fine. Thunder roared and lightning flashed, but you and I were in a different time. And we're smiling when we're sleeping, and we're smiling when we're waking. Floating in and out of time, in and out of space. No one else can touch us now. we're in a different place.
This next song is called From Time to Time.
When the morning comes, you won't be mine. I know that angels come from time to time. There's nothing much to see, just sensuality. I know that angels come from time to time. On a perfect day, come my way and see what matters and what you'll never find. There's a storm in your eyes when your body's next to mine. I know that angels come from time to time. Can you see better things coming your way? Can you feel that every air lifting off your taste? Can you see it's easy when you open up your mind? I know that angels come from time to time. Laid up above the road, I never know where the seem to go. I just look out to space, me and my faith. I know that angels come from time to time, 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 from time to time.
Okay, this is Vapour Trail. First you look so strong, then you fade away. The sun will blind my eyes, I love you anyway. Thirsty for your smile, I watch you for a while. You are a vapor trail in a deep blue sky. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la la la. Tremble with a sigh, glitter in your eye. You seem to come and go, I never seem to know. And all my time is yours as much as mine. We never have enough time to show our love. La la